Never thought a simple knock on my door would change the way my entire neighborhood saw me. It was late afternoon, the kind of warm, sleepy hour when nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. I was sitting on my living room couch, half reading emails, half thinking about the pile of paperwork waiting for me at the station. My dog, Harley, was asleep on the rug, his breathing steady and peaceful. Everything felt normal, quiet, predictable, until the pounding started. 3 loud, forceful bangs rattled the door. Harley jolted awake, barking wildly. For a moment, I thought it was some emergency from work, maybe one of my officers needing backup. But then I heard a voice, sharp, irritated, and definitely not official. "Open the door! This is the HOA compliance team." I froze. The HOA. Those 3 letters have been the reason behind half the neighborhood's headaches. But today they sounded angrier than usual. I walked toward the door, confused, a little annoyed, but mostly curious. When I opened it, 2 men stood on my porch wearing uniforms. Cheap ones. Their badges were crooked, shiny in that toy store kind of way. One held a clipboard. The other crossed his arms like he was expecting a fight. "Mr. Aaron Keller?" The one with the clipboard asked, trying too hard to sound authoritative. "Yes," I replied calmly. "You're under arrest for repeated violations of HOA regulations." The other one barked. "Step outside." For a moment, I simply blinked at them. Not in fear, just disbelief. Arrest? For what? I hadn't violated anything. I kept my lawn trimmed, paid my dues, even helped repaint the community center last spring. But these men weren't here to talk. They took a threatening step forward. Harley growled. I held up my hand. "Gentlemen," I said in the same steady tone I used during high-risk negotiations, "who exactly sent you?" "We represent the Executive Enforcement Division of the HOA." The tall one snapped. "You need to come with us immediately." The ridiculousness of the situation nearly made me laugh. But I didn't. Not because I was scared. Because I knew something wasn't right. They weren't real officers. Their uniforms didn't match. Their badges were wrong, and the HOA didn't have the authority to arrest anyone. Not legally, not morally, not in any universe governed by law. And the biggest thing they didn't know? I was the chief of police for their entire district. But I didn't reveal that yet. Instead, I asked, "You got paperwork for this arrest?" Clipboard guy hesitated. We have a notice of detainment." He flipped through pages, clearly unprepared. My suspicion deepened. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate intimidation. Someone higher up in the HOA sent these men to scare me. Maybe because I refused to approve the new fee hikes. Maybe because I questioned their new board president, a man known for power trips and shady decisions. But before I could speak again, the tall one reached for my arm. "Sir, comply now or force will be used." That was it. Harley barked, so loudly the man jumped back. I stepped forward, looked straight into their eyes, and said in a calm, firm voice, "Touch me again, and I will arrest both of you for impersonating an officer." For a second, neither moved. Then clipboard guy laughed a little, nervously. "Arrest us? You can't." I slowly reached into my back pocket and pulled out my real badge. Their faces drained of color instantly. The gold reflected the afternoon sun as I held it up between us. "Chief Aaron Keller," I said. "District 1 Police Department." The silence that followed was almost painful. "Would you like to rethink what you're doing here?" I asked softly, giving them one last chance to walk away. But instead of running, which honestly would have been smarter, they panicked. Clipboard guy dropped his papers. The other reached for something on his belt, but it wasn't a weapon. It was a walkie-talkie. A toy walkie-talkie. It made a static sound when he pressed a button. They were amateurs. Hired amateurs. Before they could attempt anything else, 2 real officers, my officers, pulled into my driveway. They'd been patrolling the area and saw the commotion. Within seconds, the 2 fake officers were handcuffed and sitting on the curb, their bravado completely gone. One of them looked up at me with trembling lips. We didn't know you were the chief." "I noticed," I replied quietly. "Who sent you?" He swallowed hard. "The HOA president." He said you were causing trouble for him. Trouble. So standing up against corruption was trouble now. I felt anger burn in my chest, not the loud, explosive anger, but the silent kind that comes from being deeply betrayed by people who should protect the community, not manipulate it. The HOA president lived 2 streets away. He greeted me every morning like nothing was wrong, smiled, waved, pretended to be a good neighbor. But behind the scenes, he was abusing power, using fear to control the residents. And today, he sent fake officers to arrest me. As imposters were taken away, neighbors gathered outside, silent, watching, their eyes wide. Some whispered, some looked confused, but many looked relieved. They'd suspected things were wrong, too. Maybe they were scared to speak up. Maybe this was their wake-up call. Later that evening, I contacted the city's legal department and launched a full investigation into the HOA board. I thought I'd feel angry or victorious or even satisfied, but instead it hurt. It hurt because I believe in community. I believe people could be decent. I believe leadership meant responsibility, fairness, protection. To see people use authority as a weapon, it always broke something inside me. As night fell, I sat on my porch with Harley resting his head on my lap. The neighborhood was quiet again, peaceful, but not the same kind of peace as before. This one felt heavier, as if everyone now saw the cracks that had always been there. A soft knock came at my door. It was Mrs. Turner, an elderly woman who lived next door. She'd always been kind to me, bringing cookies during holidays, greeting Harley with treats. But today, her eyes were glossy and worried. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "We didn't know what they were doing. The board had been scaring people, but we didn't know it was as bad." I gently placed a hand over hers. "It's not your fault." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You always helped us. You always protected this community, and they did this to you." I smiled softly. "Now we fix it." And we did. In the following weeks, multiple residents came forward with complaints. Intimidation, unauthorized fines, threats. The HOA president resigned under investigation. A new election was held, and this time the community chose people who genuinely cared. The day the neighborhood voted, Mrs. Turner stopped me as I walked to my car. "Chief Keller," she said with a bright smile, "thank you for standing up for us." "I don't just serve the law," I replied. "I serve the people." She nodded, wiping another tear. "And you do it well." For the first time in a long time, I felt something warm settle in my chest. Not anger, not frustration, but hope. Real hope. The kind that makes you believe communities can heal, people can grow, and justice can win quietly without shouting. Later that night, sitting on the porch again, I looked out at the neighborhood. The same homes, the same streets, but everything felt different. Safer, brighter, more united. Harley nudged my hand, wanting a pet. "We did good today, buddy," I whispered, because sometimes the strongest power move isn't loud or violent. Sometimes it's standing your ground so firmly that corruption crumbles in the silence. And sometimes the people who try to break you end up revealing who you truly are. Chief, protector, neighbor, and a man who refuses to be intimidated, especially by fake officers with plastic badges.